How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Dysfunctional Commentary. This past week, Godzilla King of the Monsters came out on Blu-ray, but before I get to that, let me first say that I actually really enjoyed the Gareth Edwards directed film from 2014. One of the major criticisms for this movie is that there wasn't enough Godzilla in a Godzilla film. I never really felt that way, and maybe that's because I am a long-time Godzilla fan, and a lot of the early Godzilla films, that's kind of the way it would work. You would have a long build-up throughout most of the movie, and then it wasn't really towards the end when you got the big payoff with a lot of Godzilla and monsters fighting each other. So that's just the way a lot of those movies worked. So I never really felt that there wasn't enough Godzilla in this movie. I was very satisfied with this movie. I thought it was a really good Western version of Godzilla, far better than the one with Matthew Broderick from years ago. Now, Godzilla King of the Monsters came out, and it addressed a lot of those criticisms. It said, "Oh, you don't think this movie has enough Godzilla? We'll fix that for you." So Godzilla King of the Monsters came out, and they put a lot more Godzilla in it, a lot more monsters fighting each other. So if that's what you wanted, they answered that and gave you exactly what you wanted. The version I picked up is the 3D edition, which is a Best Buy exclusive here in the States. And I did see this in the theater, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of monsters fighting each other. It was just a lot of intense action, explosions, a lot of visual spectacle. And I enjoyed it a lot for that reason. I don't necessarily think that that means that it is a better movie than the Godzilla film from 2014. I enjoy them both, but I enjoy them for different reasons. So if you want the slow build-up with the big payoff at the end, then the 2014 Godzilla film is that kind of movie. If you just want it right, pretty much right from the beginning, just a lot of intense action, a lot of monsters fighting each other, then this new one is more for you. Now, I got the 3D edition, so I will talk about the 3D. I did not see this in 3D in the theater. I watched the standard version in the theater, and so I was very excited to see this movie in 3D because, as I said, it is more about the visual spectacle. So I thought that the 3D might be really nice for this film. Unfortunately, I was very disappointed. The 3D in this movie does not really work all that well at all. And maybe that's because a lot of the scenes are quite a bit darker. And 3D doesn't necessarily work really well with very dark scenes. There's some stuff that works with the 3D. There are definitely some effects that pop with the 3D, but it isn't consistent enough. And to be perfectly honest, this is a movie that I will probably primarily be watching the 2D version of. That does not mean that I do not like this movie. I do. I very much enjoy this movie. I just don't think the 3D is really worth it. So if you were thinking about picking this movie up, I would probably say maybe stick with the 2D version or opt for the 4K release. The 3D edition, I didn't think that it really worked all that well. I might pop it in here and there as a novelty, but overall, yeah, I just didn't think the 3D worked all that well. So there's been some other Godzilla news that I've become aware of very recently. On a previous video, I mentioned that Criterion had picked up some of the distribution rights for a lot of the early Showa-era Godzilla films. They'd been putting them on a streaming service, but at the time, I had not heard anything further as to what their plans were for the future. Were they going to release these on physical? There was talk that yes, they were going to do that, but I hadn't heard anything concrete. That has changed. Criterion is releasing the Godzilla Showa-Era collection on Blu-ray at the end of October. October 29th is the release date, so that's just a couple of months away. And here are the films that are going to be included in that collection. We have Godzilla from 1954, re-released here in the States as Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it does include both versions. We have Godzilla Raids Again from 1955. We have King Kong versus Godzilla from 1963. And the Criterion website does confirm that this actually will include the 1962 Japanese release of King Kong vs. Godzilla. And to my knowledge, that is a first. I don't believe that the original Japanese version has ever had an official North American release. So very cool. I'm very interested to see that because I actually have never seen the original Japanese version. Mothra vs. Godzilla from 1964. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster from 1964. Invasion of the Astro-Monster from 1965. Ebirah, Horror of the Deep from 1966. Son of Godzilla from 1967. Destroy All Monsters from 1968. All Monsters Attack from 1969. Godzilla vs. Hedorah from 1971. Godzilla vs. Gigan from 1972. Godzilla vs. Megalon from 1973. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla from 1974. And Terror of Mechagodzilla from 1975. So, 15 Godzilla films on 8 Blu-rays in a very cool collection from Criterion. This will also come with a hardcover book that has a lot of information about the films, photographs, and some really interesting artwork. Very, very excited to hear that this is going to be released. I was pretty sure that it was going to be, but I had no concrete information on when or if that was going to happen. Now we do. Now it is official. It is coming out at the end of October, and I have already pre-ordered my copy, and as soon as that gets released and shows up on my doorstep, I will be doing a follow-up video to talk about that collection. So very, very excited to hear about this. Yeah, the Godzilla Showa-Era collection from Criterion. Just very exciting news. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up. As I said, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Very, very fun movie. I really enjoyed this one. But as I said, for different reasons than I enjoyed the film from 2014. But as for the 3D, kind of disappointing, honestly. I was pretty disappointed in the 3D, and I may only be watching that here and there as a novelty. Mostly be watching this one in 2D. I think it works a lot better in 2D. But that's going to do it, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you later.